It's another day out here working on the van. If you followed us, we have installed the Aluminess tire carrier for the driver's side of the van. There's a full video install on that, and so as we continue to build out the back of the van for our storage, we ordered another Aluminess product. Which is their rear box mount, rack mount for the passenger side of the van, and that's what we're going to install today. So if you're just joining us for the first time, Emily and I have bought a 2019 Sprinter van and have been redoing it for about the last year and a half. So if you want to see how to mount one of the Aluminess box mounts to your Sprinter van, stick around for the video. All right, welcome to another episode of The Road Ahead. We are going to be installing the Aluminess base rack to the passenger side of the van, and that's going to hold 2 storage boxes for stuff that we want to store on the exterior side, as well as it's going to give us a place to mount some skis or any other accessory that we'd like to put together. So I guess the first thing we got to do is open up the Aluminess packaging. Everything came in a nice box, and nothing was damaged, so we're going to go ahead and open that stuff up now. And here you have the base rack, which is one piece. It comes with some load bars for the boxes to sit on. You have instructions and a bunch of hardware. Now we got the base rack that can also take a 1-up bike carrier on the top bar. So that's what some of the extra stuff is for that. So this is what everything looks like. So this is the base rack. Hardware, all of the mounting pieces that you need. They even give you a nice cover to go over where the Mercedes logo is. The nice thing about this kit, which is one of the reasons why I like it, is that I have the 270-degree hinge set up on this van, so the doors will open all the way back on themselves. And most things that you can buy on the aftermarket are made for the door hinges that only open up partially. And so the nice thing about this particular model, or this particular company, is, one, look at the welds on this. So the product is made very, very well. It's all made out of aluminum, powder coated, but it's a no drill situation. So it bolts around the factory hinge, so it doesn't impede the action of the door, and it's structural to the door frame itself. And if you have the hinges that open up wider, this is really your only option to put a rack system on the back of your van, unless you replace the actual door hinges themselves, and I didn't want to do that. So let's go ahead and kind of take a look at how this is going to mount to the van. So the rack is going to sit basically like this, and there are brackets to go around each of the hinges. So there's a wraparound bracket to this hinge, a wraparound bracket to this hinge, and then there's a mounting plate underneath here that the rest of the thing gets its strength from. So what we're going to do is we're going to open the van up, and then we're going to start by putting those hinge brackets on. All right, so our first step is we got to take the Mercedes emblem off, and that is held on by 2 of these T20 Torx head screws. If you don't have one of these kits, it's probably behoove you. It's just an Amazon kit that has all of the Torx bit heads. It has secure heads, regular heads, but they're pretty essential for working on stuff made overseas, this Mercedes in particular. So once you take those screws out, the Mercedes emblem just pops off. It does leave some adhesive and some protection here for the paint, and that's got to come off before you install the new piece. So to get that off, it just takes I got a little plastic tool and a heat gun, and it comes right off. So just a little bit of heat. It is cold out here, but having a heat gun and some of these plastic trim tools really makes a difference in getting some of that adhesive stuff off without having to mess the paint up. Okay, so the first step, once you get everything cleaned up where the Mercedes symbol is going to be, and you apply the protective film that they've asked you to put on the door, you'll take this upper hinge bracket, and the first thing they ask you to do is just take out the bottom Torx bit. So that's a T45 Torx, and what you're going to do is you leave the upper bolt, because it's what kind of centers the bracket. So it kind of just rotates down like that, and you can see it centers everything just like that. So the upper bolt is what kind of holds it in place. Once you get the bracket on there, you're going to take one of their M8 bolts with a lock washer, and you're going to go ahead and install it right here. You're going to make sure that there's space between this bracket on the upper end and the lower end so that they're equal, and then you're going to tighten that bolt, this one, to 17 foot-pounds. So you will need a torque wrench if you don't have one. They're not very expensive to buy, but you can always rent one at your auto parts store if you need to. All right, once you have that tight, now the hinge hasn't moved, and that's the beauty of this kit, is it allows you to take one bolt at a time, and that way you don't mess your hinge alignment up. So because you took the bolt out of that upper hole, they provide you with a washer that fills that gap. And so it fits nicely in there if you don't drop it. And then you take another M8 bolt. I put some blue Loctite on these before I tighten them down, and then secure that hinge bracket. All right, so both bolts are installed. We're going to do the lower hinge bracket next, and it's using the same procedure. So we'll take this one out and then rotate it in like that, and then put the two bolts in. So you can see these extra little bolts right there, or threaded nuts or threaded bosses that they put in there. Those are for the limiting straps, because once you got the boxes on the back, you don't want that door to open up all the way and then crash into the side of your van. Very similar to the strap that's on this side from the tire carrier. So we'll go ahead and get that lower hinge installed real fast. Okay, so we got the lower hinge bracket installed. Same process, M8 bolt with a lock washer. On the upper bolt, you use that washer spacer to take up the space. Again, this is all to protect your door from getting out of alignment. One of the big reasons why I didn't want another version of these door kits is because I didn't want to have to take those hinges off and mess with having to align those doors, because if you haven't done that, it's a monster of an undertaking. So the next step is we have another support piece that has to go on the edge of the door. There are two rubber plugs closest to where the emblem is, and both of them have to go out. I use a pick to help grab those. It just makes life a lot easier than trying to pick it out. So again, those are cheap. You can buy them on Amazon. You can buy them at your local auto parts store. It's all pretty simple stuff. All right, so for this next step, we have to put on the seam support bracket in order to have a mounting spot for the actual base to bolt to. And this has got a little bit of a different kind of install. So we pulled those rubber plugs out, and then you have to assemble this. So this has got a nut on the back of it on a plate there's a rubber washer and then a 1/4 inch stainless steel washer with a hex head bolt. And what these do is they're going to rock into those holes that we pulled the plugs out of, kind of like this. So you put the base in, and then you got to rotate it up to get it in. And so I've installed this one so you can see. Now the next step is we got to take that rubber washer and push it to the inside before we tighten it down. And in order to tighten those hex heads, you're going to need a number 4 hex head wrench, which is on the metric side. So we'll go ahead and get those put in all the way, and then we'll show you how we mount that bracket. So I'm just going to take this rubber washer and kind of fold it in and push it to the inside, and then that should give you everything you need. And we'll do the same to this bottom one. Just kind of fold it in. And push it in like that. So this next step, this bracket's got some slides on the top, but then you got to go around the head on the top for the top side, and then it slides down. I'll try and do this as gracefully as I can with one hand. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. You gotta have 2 hands to do it. All right, so there it is. So they've slid down over. Just ensure that before you tighten this down, that this lines up with these holes. And so inserting the hardware through it will help get everything aligned so that it's where it needs to be. All right, so this next step involves placing the bracket on the van, and we're going to take these bolts and a nylon nut, and we're going to loosely fit the bracket to the door, and the bolts are going to go in through like that. And so we'll put that on. This is where it helps to have 2 people. I'm by myself, so it's going to be a little bit of a wrangling to get that done. But it's self-explanatory. The long end or the post end, that goes to the bottom, and then you just kind of add the bolts in loose, and then we'll get it to where it needs to be and tighten it all up. All right, so we got everything loosely fit. So everything is on. There's lots of adjustment with the door, so you can make sure that everything fits upright. So I'll show you. So you have the 2 bolts here, and there's movement this way and this way. So this way on the bracket and this way on the door. You have it down here as well. And then this can be a little bit of a challenge because you have to go through this bracket, through the door panel, through the actual base rack. Then you have to put the emblem on and then get a washer and a lock nut. So that takes a little bit of finagling to get done. You just have to be patient, and you got to be good with your hands in order to make it work. So but if you take your time, everything bolts right up. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and start to tighten everything down, and we'll show you what it looks like when we've got it all tightened down. Got everything mounted and tight. So everything looks really good. It fits really nice. Again, like I like the Luminous products because it really literally just bolts right up. So the last thing we have to do is put the limiting strap on so that we don't have, so see if the box, if there was a box associated with this, this is allowed to come open all the way. There's a good chance on a strong gust of wind that box is going to contact the side of the van. So we got a limited strap. So that strap has got a couple of pieces to it. So you have the strap itself, and then you have a bracket and a retainment bar. And how this fits is it fits just like everything else, but we're going to use the hinge on the van side this time. And so we'll take this lower bolt out, slide this over, put the lower bolt back in, pull this out, and then that has that same spacer washer that the others did. And then we're going to attach this retaining bar, which is this, to right here, and that's going to catch the other side of the strap. So we'll get that done real fast and show you what it looks like when we're finished. So just as a note, those hinge bolts take an E10, which is basically a reverse Torx socket. If you don't have one of these E10 sockets, you're not going to get that bolt off. So again, it comes in this set that I bought. I'll put a link in the description below in case you want to check it out, but it has everything in it that you need pretty much to work on anything that has Torx or e-Torx stuff on there. All right, so that is finishing it up. So there, the limiting strap is in place. That way the door, if it's caught by the wind, can only open but so much. There you go. So that's the install of that. So we have a couple boxes that we're going to put on there, and we'll probably put that in another video. So this is Dan from Ramblin' Ambition. Thanks for checking out our installation video of our Luminous backdoor box storage rack. Thanks for watching.